A good park in Jurassic World Evolution 2 starts with a good entrance. Just plopping down one of these doesn't always cut it. I built this realistic park entrance and found 5 tips to share with you if you want to add more realism to your dinosaur theme parks. Theme parks have notoriously huge parking lots because most visitors arrive via car, not helicopter. I've seen other people build brilliant parking lots in this game before, but they always forget one thing. How do people reach our Jurassic Park parking lots when there's no infrastructure connecting the map to the rest of the world? Using a trick with the monorail tracks, I've built the end of a tunnel with the road leading into and out of the park. From most angles, this creates a really convincing illusion of a genuine tunnel disappearing underground. To make this tunnel access, create a monorail roof that is one maximum track length wide and dig down underneath both ends of the roof to sink down the whole structure. Hiding the ends with trees as much as you can helps with the illusion. I know not everyone is a fan of the monorail roof trick, but I think this is pretty clever use of it. Back to those huge parking lots. If you really wanted to commit to realism, you should probably turn half your real estate into a parking lot. I didn't want to go that far and waste that much space on it, so I went for this size instead. As you can see, this map already has a designed landscape. I built this for my video with tips on how to create spectacular landscapes in your parks, and I'll link that video at the end for you to check out if you are struggling with the terrain. I'm finally going to be turning this landscape into a proper park and use it for more tip videos on how to make a realistic build, so subscribe for that and much more. Since I already had the landscape, I picked a space that I felt was suitable for a parking lot. If you are starting with a blank map, you can make your parking lot anywhere, but obviously put it at the edge somewhere. Building a parking lot is admittedly tedious work, and I didn't record the process for that reason. But my tips for building your own parking lot are: 1. Don't build all parallel lines, but work in some angles to make it interesting. 2. Figure out a basic shape first and draw that in with terrain paints just as a guideline. 3. As you build your parking lot, work from left to right or right to left, building it one road at a time, placing them alongside each other, leaving parking spaces in between. Don't try to work from the outside in by first laying down the perimeter, as I think you'll get into trouble with the spacing that way. 4. Leave some little cutouts to fill with foliage, and of course add planters. 5. I used a different path color from the road to signify pedestrian areas and pedestrian crossings. Making an actual crosswalk with path at this scale doesn't work, so that's why I just used a different path color. 6. Finally, add flags and, very importantly, light posts. I do have a 7th optional tip for if you want to go above and beyond, and that is to park a couple of Ranger Jeeps in the parking lot so you have at least a few vehicles occupying some spots. Just don't overdo it, because a lot of parked Jeeps can lead to crashes or being unable to load into your save file next time. If you don't know how to make Jeeps stay in their place, I've done a short on that. If you still struggle making a parking lot, look up some real-world references, but be mindful of the limitations of the path tool. A lot of fine details are really difficult, sometimes even impossible to achieve. Cut yourself some slack as you're working. And remember, when placing path, to go slow and check for clipping before you click, and that there is almost always a way to avoid clipping. Just find other spots to connect the piece of path to. So now we have our tunnel with a road leading to the parking lot and a road leading out of the parking lot itself. We've taken care of how guests arrive in the park, but how do they enter the park? For the park entrance and ticket offices, I've placed down 4 of the Jurassic World entrance buildings in pairs of 2 facing each other, with just enough space between them for a wide path. I was pretty pleased with how this formation of buildings turned out in combination with the banners and the wall pieces, so I wanted to share that with you. I think it looks like a really good and pretty realistic entrance. I mixed up path colors to make it look more interesting and also left plenty of space for foliage. Once guests have their tickets, they go through these pretend turnstiles. The light is a stand-in for a ticket scanner, so they show their ticket and then they are allowed to enter the park. As with a lot of stuff in Jurassic World Evolution 2, it requires a bit of imagination, but I do think it adds an extra level of realism, and you can add it to other sections of your park as well, like special rides or a dedicated VIP section. Right through the park entrance are the very first shops, and then in the case of my park, there will be a path up the hill that takes guests into the park where they can start their adventure. To have one-way traffic through the park entrance, I've made a separate park exit that connects to the parking lot on the other side. Here too, there are turnstiles, just so people can't sneak into the park through this exit path, and also I think it's a good security measure to know that a guest has checked out of the park. As I continue this build, I will be doing more tip videos for some extra realism in your parks, for example for hotel areas and staff facilities, so subscribe for those videos in the future. If you want more tips right now, check out my tips for making spectacular terrain and these other tip videos with a lot more on the channel. Thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and until next time, enjoy the game.